and welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop. I'm your host Jen, and I'm very excited to talk about today's episode. But before we begin, there will be spoilers as we talk about major events that unfold within the story. In addition, each episode will have a list of trigger warnings in the description. Be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast, and show your support on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. And welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop, and today we are joined for the first time ever, Nick.
Hello, everyone.
And we are excited to talk about what book did you bring, and why did you bring it?
I brought Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, the third installment of the Harry Potter series.
I did the first book, I believe, December 2020, coming back with the third book. Super exciting. To get us started, we're going to play a game.
Okay.
You are going to summarize this book in 30 seconds. Okay. Try your best, and whenever you're ready, you may begin.
This follows Harry in his third year at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. He recently found out that an inmate at Azkaban prison escaped from Azkaban prison. He's the first one to escape. His name is Sirius Black, and he is rumored to have killed Harry's parents. So he goes to his third year at school, meets a new professor, and because of Sirius, there are Dementors all over the school. And he just gotta deal with his time.
Alright. You know what's crazy? I just realized the first book is during his first year at Hogwarts, and then the second book is his second year at Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. And then this third book, it's crazy how that is all set up.
Yeah, it's pretty well organized, I will say.
And then they ruined it with the movie being broken up into two parts.
Yeah.
I always think there's two books at the end, but there's only 7 books.
Yeah.
Great job. I'm going to summarize it really quick for anybody who, randomly lives under a rock and has no clue. For 12 years, the fortress of Azkaban held an infamous prisoner named Sirius Black, convicted for killing 13 people with a single curse. Now that he has escaped and the Azkaban guards heard Black muttering in his sleep, he's at Hogwarts. He's at Hogwarts. Harry isn't safe. Not even within the walls of Hogwarts, surrounded by his friends and professors. Because, on top of it all, there may be a traitor in their midst. In this one, Nick, what would you say is your favorite quote?
I'm gonna have to reference later in the book when Harry and Sirius are talking after a big part of the plot was revealed. And this quote is said by Mr. Sirius Black. But I don't know if anyone ever told you, I'm your godfather.
Whoa, shocker.
Yeah. This one, I feel like a refreshing moment for Harry, knowing that he had someone else that he could go to, and someone in his family that he actually felt connected to. He was staying with the Dursleys, didn't enjoy doing that, and now he has kind of an out.
Yeah. His immediate thought when Sirius does offer him to stay with him during the summer, he just immediately says yes, even though he doesn't know this man at all. And his thought was, when he told him that, was like, I finally get away from the Dursleys now. I have somebody else. I think his mindset was he 13 in this one, right?
Yes.
This man, who's just covered in dirt and grime, and was like, yeah, I just got out of prison for killing people. That actually didn't happen. Do you want to live with me? And he's just like, yeah, I'm down.
That's so sad, though. That
it is sad.
He just met this man and he's willing to live with him, even though he didn't know anything about him.
He wanted to kill him.
Yeah, until an hour before that.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I will live with you. That's okay.
That's okay. So the quote that I have is from Dumbledore, who shockingly wasn't in this one a ton. I thought he was going to be in a lot more. And Harry is talking about his Patronus, thinking that his father had done it. And then, of course, he finds out that he was the one that did it. Whole thing. Gotta read the book. And the quote is, you think the dead we loved ever truly leave us? You think that we don't recall them more clearly than ever in times of great trouble. Your father is alive in you, Harry, and shows himself most plainly when you are in need of him. And I think that's a huge driving force for Harry in this whole series, because his parents, who he knows now were wizards and didn't die in a car accident. They're such vital characters in the story. I personally have never read the entire series, so I don't know how in-depth it gets in the last few books. Nick's making a face over here. I am eventually going to read all of them. Stay tuned to the Book Stop Instagram if you guys want to learn more about that, but I'm excited to see how they kind of play a part. I only know what's in the movies. Yeah, I'm excited.
Maybe I'll have to come back for another one.
Maybe you can jump in
a
for
Fantastic Beasts book.
They have
the
a
Harry
book
Potter
for us?
cookbook.
No,
We'll talk
we're
about
done.
it. Favorite recipes.
You're done. I don't know. This was a pretty easy read, so there wasn't a lot of like in depth. You have to really think about a lot of the quotes that they had. They were kind of just a lot of surface level stuff.
Yeah.
So
it was more of just Harry having struggles throughout the year.
And with like classes.
Yeah.
It was very mundane. Like this book was very chill, I guess.
Yeah.
Compared to the other ones.
This is the only book really where the villain wasn't a villain. And it was just a build up almost for nothing. Because it ended up being okay.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because we find out like Peter Pettigrew comes into play later. But this one is like the only one where we don't see like Voldy. We don't see Voldy in it. So it makes it feel a little bit less underwhelming. But it's such a good turning point, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's like finally Harry's life is starting to like turn out to be a good thing. Because, that's a bad way to put it. Things are happening for him.
At this point in the story, I enjoyed this book more than the first two.
Yeah, the first one I think has like a special place because it's like the beginning of the world.
It's super nostalgic. And a feel-good book.
Yeah. So what are some things that you liked about this book?
One of the things I enjoyed most probably would be the involvement of the school in the story. With the kids going to a lot of classes, having Quidditch involved, and just the overall like a lot of students were in the story. I like how the school's more heavily involved rather than just Harry and his internal struggles.
Yeah.
So it's a good balance, I felt.
This is more what Hogwarts Legacy should have been. A lot of classes where you can actually go to the classes.
I agree. I enjoyed bringing in a new character that was actually good for the story.
Lupin.
Like he was the first.
Or Peter. Just kidding.
Definitely not Peter. Peter was terrible. Technically, he was in all of them.
True.
But they finally brought in a new character that you could almost resonate with and that the other characters, the main characters, enjoyed being around. So it added some, like, positivity almost to the story. Lupin
was one of the best teachers they've, ever had at Hogwarts.
Better than the last one, for sure.
Yeah, Lockhart was garbage. I really enjoyed feeling of, like, magic everywhere. I love that we always start with the Dursleys because you get to see the Muggle side, and then him coming into Hogwarts and seeing the magic everywhere, or when he goes to Ron's family, where they go and you see how they live with it. So I love how the magic in the world is just everywhere, and it's just such a driving force for this book. Sometimes they kind of push it off, even though it's the driving force of the book, and this one really like drives it. I thought the pacing of this one was really good. Even though there was a lot of plot in it, a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of conversation and you get a little classes, you get a little conversation and you get Quidditch. Like, it breaks it up really nice. I also loved Hermione's evil air. She was kind of mean in this one and I loved it.
That stress got to her.
Yeah, the stress definitely got to her. And then she punched Draco in the face. Ah, amazing.
Yeah.
Best scene. I loved it. So what are some things that you didn't like?
You know, I didn't love how the book made Snape feel.
Yes.
I just felt like he was a little too erratic and just was almost like out of character. He was a lot more emotional than he had been previously. Kind of took me off guard how like his personality just kind of like jumped out.
Yeah, definitely a shift. Like, I get that he was worried about Lupin, knowing that he was friends with Sirius. Yeah, he was way too much to these students who are, again, 13. The way he was talking to them, I was like, that's not okay. You can't talk to them that way.
Yeah.
I, again, haven't read the whole series, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, why does anybody like Severus? Because he's so mean to these kids. And I get that it's like character development, I guess, with him maybe getting nicer at the end. I don't know. But yeah, he was just really mean and I didn't like it. I was like, can we stop? Do you have any other dislikes?
Not really. This one was definitely better than the first two in terms of like the story and content.
Some of the things I didn't like was I really wish we saw Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff. We only see Gryffindor and Slytherin.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that Hermione should have been a Ravenclaw. I think just even one person from each one. Isn't Lavender
Brown?
Yeah. Isn't she a Hufflepuff? A Ravenclaw?
No, she's a Gryffindor.
She is? Okay.
Yeah.
I know we get Luna, like, later. She's a Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get Luna a little bit later, but I really wish we would have...
Cho Chang was in this one.
Yeah, she's a Hufflepuff.
And Cedric.
Oh, yeah. Didn't realize Cedric came in this early.
Yeah,
I
me either.
thought he came in the next one.
Yeah.
And Cho as well. I was like, what the heck?
I never remember hearing about them until they were part of the plot. I mean, they...
Yeah, literally.
Like, they were mentioned in this one. They were both playing Quidditch, which I found interesting.
Isn't she the captain?
She was a seeker. In this book, they almost foreshadowed Harry having, like, a crush on her, because they mentioned that he found her attractive.
Yeah.
And that him ask her to the ball in the next book.
Yeah. Which is nice. I like that we get that, because in the movie, it's just like, she's there, and you're like, oh, okay. I didn't even know Cedric did Quidditch, so...
Same.
I mean, I know he went to the World Cup or whatever, so we had to, like it. But, yeah, it was cool to introduce those characters who become so important in the next one. I also... What's up with the caps lock? Did it get stuck? Every time she was trying to emphasize something, it was all caps lock.
Yeah.
Like, you could literally flip through that book right now, and it's just all caps lock.
There's a lot of anger.
I get it, but there's other ways to emphasize anger or, stress or whatever it is. It's a lot of Hermione, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, the caps lock was a lot. And I was like, let's maybe tone back on that a little bit. And the last thing I was gonna say was the Shrieking Shack scene. I hate it so much. Oh my god, it was way too long. And it was so much information that was just dumped on us.
Yeah.
And yeah, I hated it.
It was like the whole plot was revealed in one chapter.
Yeah.
Rather than stretched out.
I mean, there was that, and then there was also the three broomsticks scene is the same thing. It was just a lot of open conversation in the middle of this, tavern inn area.
Yeah. Talking
about Black's background. And this whole book is driven by Harry overhearing conversations the entire time. This scene specifically where he goes to Hogsmeade, where he's not supposed to be, he's hiding, and McGonagall, Hagrid, the guy from the Ministry, and somebody else is all there.
Cornelius.
Yeah, he's the Ministry guy. There's a woman there.
The one that works at, the tavern.
Maybe, yeah.
It's like Madame something.
Anyways, they're just all openly talking about it. Hagrid starts, yelling about Black. Why wouldn't it draw attention? There's people there. I also didn't like that scene as well.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because Harry never sort of went out of his way to find out anything. He just overheard things by accident. Yeah. He never wanted to find out more himself. It was just kind of thrown at him, more detail. Mm-hmm. Which kind of helped him along the way, but you would have thought he would have wanted to know more about the person who supposedly murdered your parents.
Exactly. I think it's just, at this point, just lazy writing from the author. Who will be not named. It's just lazy writing, and I feel like there's so many more ways that he could have gotten a lot of the information. I would rather him overhear it from just, students talking about it, because it's a school. Gossip gets everywhere. Than having, the 3 or 4 people that should keep it quiet, literally saying it out loud.
Yeah, they definitely missed on that. He could have even just approached someone and asked.
Okay, I have just a lot of questions. Because you know Harry Potter a lot more than I do, because I haven't read the books.
Yeah.
So I just have a lot of questions about things.
Okay.
So can we talk about how the fact that Harry just gets away with literally everything?
This was the first time where I almost agreed with Snape, to where it's this kid gets away with everything he does, and if any other student did this, they would be expelled. And Harry does a lot of stuff he shouldn't. He brings other people into it too, which isn't the smartest thing. Yeah. Almost kills his friends every year.
My biggest thing was Hogsmeade with him with the permission slip, not being able to fill it out. That's the thing that stopped them from being no, you can't do it. You can't go to Hogsmeade. You have to have a permission slip from, either your dead parents or your aunt and uncle that hate you. But he could use magic to blow up his aunt, and everyone's oh, it's fine. Even though it's a law. It's literally a law, and he was afraid he was going to go to Azkaban, and they're no, it's okay. You're Harry Potter. It's fine.
I think it was when he showed up at Diagon Alley, and Cornelius Fudge told him, oh, it was fine. We got her back to normal. We obliviated her. She doesn't remember. Mm-hmm. But then the year before, he didn't even do it. Dobby dropped the cake on that one lady and got in trouble. But he almost killed someone in his family.
Yeah, he literally went to space, at that point. I don't get the hang up of him not being able to go to Hogsmeade. I was thinking maybe, That way it shows that connection when Sirius gets there and he can sign the permission slip at the end of the book. But I don't know. I just didn't like it.
You would almost think that they could just have a teacher escort him.
Yeah.
And that would have been...
Oh my god. Like when you go on a field trip and you have to hold your teacher's hand the whole time.
Exactly.
You can relate, right?
McGonagall would have loved to go with him.
Yeah, that would have been so cute. I feel like anybody could have gone. Lupin, nah, he's got a lot going on. Dumbledore, he's probably not busy every weekend.
I feel like Flitwick.
Yeah.
He would have taken
Yeah.
him.
What was the herbologist? Professor Sprout. She could have went. I'm sure she loves a good butterbeer. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about. Do any of these professors have a teaching degree? Because something tells me that they don't.
You know, I don't know if that's technically a thing in the wizarding world. I know Hagrid did not. And he probably had one of the more dangerous jobs.
He definitely should have had a teaching degree. At least a permit.
Yeah. Not even Dumbledore, because he was a professor before.
Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, beautiful young.
Yeah. Oh my god, that man.
Yeah, because most of the teachers were just students there, and then...
They just came back.
Because
they had none of the teachers really respected the students. McGonagall was McGonagall. Lupin was the only one that... I think he has a teaching degree. I fully believe that he has a teaching degree.
Yeah.
But everyone else, no.
Yeah. They all knew their subject, but didn't feel like teachers. People that were good at something that were showing kids that they're good at it.
The entire time I was just like, I don't know if you're qualified to be doing this with a student right now. So who would you say in this one is your favorite character?
It's a character that was fresh in this book. Lupin was just a good person. Despite his illness, he took care of Harry the whole time. Right off the bat, when they met in the train. He was just always there, always took a liking to him. Even if he wasn't best friends with his dad, I think he still would have been a good person. Everyone thought he was the best teacher that they had. At least for Defense Against the Dark Arts.
Definitely.
He's just a good person.
My two favorite characters in the whole Harry Potter universe series, Professor McGonagall and Lupin. But in this one specifically, I do like Lupin the most. He actually had a connection with most of the students, not just Harry, but the other students as well. It was just sad that he wasn't in it a ton because of his lycanthropy. I was trying to think of the technical word for a werewolf.
Lycanthropy?
Yeah, something like that. With him being a werewolf, so they had to always excuse him and be like, oh, he's sick. But he had such an interesting story. I wanted to know more about him, honestly. Did it say how he got bit? Just that he was young when he got bit?
Yeah, it just said that he was a kid, and then I think he got it cleared with Dumbledore to come to the school.
And then he went to the Shrieking Shack when he shifted, and that's why it's called that, because they think it's a ghost, but it's really him.
Yeah, I didn't know the reason why it was called that until I read this book.
Time around?
Yeah, I just thought it was a haunted house.
Yeah. And then they planted the tree, the Whopping Willow, when he was a student?
Yeah.
Right?
That I learned that too, because I thought that tree was just hanging out on the campus.
I thought you liked Harry Potter.
I do. But it was weird seeing that a lot of big parts of the story were created with this other generation of characters. Like Harry's parents, Sirius, Lupin, Snape, all of them went to school at the same time. So it's cool seeing
how it's transitioned.
Exactly.
And plays into Harry's story. Okay, here's another question. I think you know about Harry Potter. This book. I think. You're learning a lot from this read, so I don't know if you actually read it.
I know a couple things.
Okay. So, the Dementors, which are the guards of Azkaban, they can see through the invisibility cloak, but Death can't. Why? Because I know it's pulled from his own cloth. So why can the Dementors see through it, but Death can't?
I think that it being from Death's own cloak might be part of the reason why. Because Dementors sense emotion, whereas Death uses more of the normal senses. Because Dementors can see feeling, they could probably just see right through any invisibility.
True. They never really go into detail of why they did it.
Dementors almost equal out Death itself, which is a little OP.
So my next question is, what are Dementors? Like, how are they? Are they just like a figment of this? Like, they just created themselves, or they create from death itself?
I honestly don't know. I guess I've never thought about how they were created, but they were probably created by like dark magic, I feel like, because they don't add anything good into the world.
True. They feed off of happiness and stuff too, right?
They could have been created when Azkaban was created too.
That's true.
Just as a form of security, because I don't remember hearing them guarding anywhere else or being anywhere else.
No. They don't talk about it in like the Fantastic Beasts or anything. I think some more research is needed.
Yeah.
For this one. So we don't normally talk about the movies on this podcast because it's a book podcast. But I do want to throw out there that I do like this book, but the movie was way better. Sorry. The movie was better. I still think that the third movie, Prisoner of Azkaban, was the best directed movie out of all the movies.
The movie was definitely a step up from the previous two, because it kind of got away from like the childlike feel of the movie to more mature. Like, you know, the kids are growing up.
At 13.
Yeah. Yeah, with the soul-sucking, not even demons, it's like...
Dementors is just a whole nother word for them.
Yeah.
I think what the issue was is that with the Time Turner, it was very confusing, I think, in the book itself. While the movie, you can, like, visibly see it, and they had the dynamic of it laid out way better, where it makes a more sense of, like, how things happen, where one thing triggers another, like, kind of like the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
While this one, it's just kind of like one and done. They just kind of sit there and wait for the ending to happen, where they all kind of come out of the Whomping Willow.
One of the differences, though, was Ron never went back in time with them in the book, which I thought was weird.
Ron, you mean he did go back in time?
In the movie.
No, he doesn't.
In the movie, he goes back with them, right?
Mm-mm. Hermione goes back in time with them. Ron had his leg hurt.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Because he's in bed, and then when they come back after, he's like...
Where'd you guys go?
He had a broken leg.
He had the broken leg.
He was just kind of there.
Yeah. It's when he goes to get Sirius, and then she gets, like, the Dementor kiss, and her soul starts to come out, or whatever it is. And I was like, why is Hermione here? This is Sirius and Harry, not Hermione.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of differences between the book and the movie, and I think the movie did it better.
The one thing I think the book did better was Lupin with his connection to Harry and the other students. Because he still did well in the movie, but there's just more background in the book for him. But I definitely liked the vibe of the third one. I
think in the movie we only got one scene with him in the classroom. In this one we get a few.
Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of the Time Turner stuff. So first of all, why did she get it? She specifically said, McGonagall said, no one can change time. So why did she get to have it? Why did she give it back, first of all? Because we could have used it later on, and how it would have changed the whole story if we would have been able to do that. I get that she was trying to learn all those extra lessons and study and all that, but it's like, I don't understand why you would give a 13-year-old something so powerful.
It's kind of scary. They just had that hanging around. Like, they can literally go back in time.
And I get that she, like, wore it around her neck, but I'm sure she took it off every once in a while. What if somebody else got that? Like, what if Peter got it? How crazy would it have been? Or if Severus got it and he was having a mopey day, he's like, I want to see Lily again, and just flipped it? How
flips it 200 times, goes back 35 years.
Is there like a limit on it? Because it doesn't really go into detail about what it does. So there is no limit, I guess.
That's terrifying.
So if McGonagall, so she got it from the Ministry, right? I think she said she had to put in like a request for her to get it.
I don't remember how she got it. I just remember that only would give it to Hermione.
So why hasn't the Ministry used it at all? And if they haven't, why would they give it to a student, I guess?
That's a great question. Way too much trust.
I guess. I mean, I would trust Hermione. Let's just say this. We needed it for the plot.
Yes.
We needed it for the plot.
And only this movie's plot, not the other ones where a main character dies in every single...
Right. Why are we only using it in this plot line, like this book? Like, why wouldn't we use it later on?
I think
she had to give it back, probably.
This is the only book where no character dies that I can remember. Because Sirius is the villain.
Yeah, Buckbeak was saved.
Yeah, both of them were saved.
That pumpkin. Oof.
The pumpkin.
The pumpkin that got slaughtered instead.
Because the first one, Quirrell, second one.
He never died. So here's my thing. I brought this up with Anastasia, who is obsessed with Harry Potter. You know those things where you can only see if you've seen death?
Thestrals?
Yeah, those ones. I questioned it because Harry sees them at the beginning of this book. I said, well, why can he not see them? Because he saw Quirrell die. And she's like, in the movie he died, but in the book, he got like covered in this gross thing. He never saw or died. But I feel like Harry has been able to see death before. I guess maybe not his mom, because he was a baby, his eyes could have been closed, but I feel like he should be able to see.
He saw Tom Riddle's memory die.
Yeah, so do you have to like be one-on-one with the person that dies, or can you watch a movie and someone dies? Like, how does that work?
I think you have to be present and see someone die in the moment.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yes.
I just want to say, It was interesting how involved in the story Crookshanks was.
Yeah.
Crookshanks was in the story the entire book, whereas like in the movie, he's in like 3 scenes.
Yeah, I thought she always had Crookshanks. I didn't know she got Crookshanks this one.
And he's in like the whole book. Him and Scabbers just go at each other the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you find out why.
My question for Crookshanks is, why was Crookshanks so cautious about Scabbers and so protective over Black? Because in the end, he was like curling up on him, laying on his lap and stuff.
You're right. Cats can sense true goodness.
I mean, he's a dog.
But he was in his human form.
I guess. For Scabbers, maybe trying to hint at evil. Like there's something going on with Scabbers.
Yeah. Crookshanks always going after Scabbers was probably just kind of pinpointing like, hey, maybe there's a reason why this animal hates this other one.
It's more than just like cat and rat. And then maybe a driving force between Ron and Hermione.
Yeah.
Because they were fighting so much because their pets were fighting. Crookshank being so protective. Because they just got him at a store in...
Diagon Alley?
Yeah, that one. So what if Crookshank is also an animagus?
What if Crookshanks is actually Voldemort?
Okay, well, why would that make
an
any
animagus?
sense? Yeah, that's what I was... Why would that be Voldemort?
Maybe he wanted hair. He finally wanted to feel the breeze
between his hair.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's it. So we're just take a second here to do a huge shout out to the Patreon subscribers.
Nick W, Ashley A, Bree P, Lulu, and Tim M.
Good job. You can read.
Thank you. I'm literate.
Thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. It means so much. I love doing this, and I'm glad that, some people are listening to it. If you guys want to be part of the Patreon shout out, head over to Patreon and subscribe today.
Do it.
Whoa, that sounds like a demand.
Please.
Okay. Is there like a demand spell? Like, I mean, there's like Crucio that you can like do pain.
Imperio.
Imperio?
You can just make them do what you want.
Don't make me Imperio you. Okay. Who would you say in this one is your favorite relationship?
I'm gonna stay on theme and stick with my pal Remus Lupin and Mr. Harry Potter.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the moon. Okay, gotcha.
Well, I just felt like Lupin was such a good character, and he was really good to not just Harry, but also Neville. I felt like he was good with him.
Mm-hmm.
But him and Harry just had that deeper connection because he was friends with his dad. He probably saw his dad in Harry, too.
Mm-hmm.
Just knew that his dad was a good person. Just wanted to be there for Harry. Throughout the book, I felt like it was probably refreshing for him to be able to tell Harry, like, how they met, how they became friends when they were in school. Nice to see, give Harry almost, like, hope that there's, like, goodness out there still.
Found family.
Exactly.
Trope in this book.
Fun uncles.
Gunkles? Just kidding. Oh, it could happen.
Oh, no, because Remus ends up...
Dang it. Tonks.
Damn it, Tonks.
I'm sure there's fan fiction for it.
Oh,
yeah. For Salah's father, he mentioned, I think a couple times, that he looked like James. But of course he has Lily's eyes.
Yeah.
So sick of hearing that. I think Harry and Lupin are a solid. There's a lot of really good relationships in this one. I have 2. So I really liked Fred and George. I really wish they were in it more. That's the thing is, like, I feel like in the movies, Fred and George are such a important part of the whole thing. And I know with what happens to them at the end, you want to build your characters up. But in this one, they're only really in the beginning, and then when they give the map to him. They're so funny, and I really like them. My other one I said it was McGonagall and the Quidditch team.
Okay.
She goes so hard for Quidditch, okay? I did not know that.
She's Gryffindor's #1 fan.
She is. And I always seen her so, like, stoic and stern. And she is those in the book. But when it comes to Quidditch, no. She cried during the finals when they won. She cried. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, he was like, I turned to look at McGonagall and she was sobbing in the stands. And I was like, that's amazing. And then with her with the broom, with her trying to like get it done as fast as she can because she knew that they needed Harry to win the finals. I loved it. So that would be my favorite relationship. Okay.
You know, I don't disagree. Because it's the most like innocent.
It is. Yeah. So I have a question about the broom. A little backstory. The broom breaks, falls into the Whomping Willow after Harry falls down from the Dementors because they pushed him down. And he gets a new broom that we find out later is from Sirius.
Yeah.
Hermione's like, no, you can't fly on it.
Gotta get it like bewitched.
Yeah, you have to get it bewitched, make sure there's no curses on it. Why couldn't they just repario the old broom? They've repaired a lot of things.
That's true. Because I feel it's a magical device, but it's also just wood. Versus like a wand has different components.
Right.
But the broom is just a magical stick.
I mean, a broom and a wand are not much different. So could you use a broom as a wand?
I think Hagrid could.
Yeah, he could.
The headmistress of Beauxbatons.
Yeah.
She's taller than Hagrid.
She is taller. She's not as thick as Hagrid is.
Oh,
though.
no. No one's
He's
as thick as him.
Yeah.
He's as wide as he is tall. And he's very tall.
So my question for you is, what would have been your favorite class/professor at this year of Hogwarts?
Oof. Because my favorite class would probably be flying class. I feel like that'd be really fun. Because I just feel like flying would be one of my favorite things if I was a wizard. But Lupin would have been my favorite professor for sure. Just because I felt like he made it fun and enjoyable. And he wasn't rude, which is almost rare at this school.
Yeah.
What about you?
Mine definitely would have been the creatures class with Hagrid. He wouldn't have been my favorite. I would have loved Hagrid, though. I think my favorite probably would be Fiddleswitch. What's his name?
Phil Switch?
What's his name?
Flitwick?
Yeah, Flitwick. Did he do choir?
He did Charms class, but he was the choir instructor.
Yeah. Or Professor Sprout. I think me and Sprout could have hung out and vibed.
Yeah.
She seemed really sweet. Yeah, I think creatures class would be fun. Like writing a hippogriff? Hello?
That would be really fun. Some of those creatures are so cute, too.
Yeah. Like the little platypus looking one.
The Niffler?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So I have a really big question about Lupin. So he is a werewolf. Shocker, spoilers, sorry.
Wow.
And he transforms on the full moon. The night that they're in the Shrieking Shack is the night of full moon. And he didn't shift until they were already outside. At that point, it was probably past midnight when they came out of the Whomping Willow. And then he shifts. Does he have to, like, see the moon to shift? Because he didn't shift at all in the Shrieking Shack scene.
I almost want to say, what if it's like a time thing?
Maybe like at its peak or something.
Yeah, because that's a good point.
It's like, how convenient that he didn't shift until
they were out and safe for a second.
We got this. Now let's get all the information, and now let's move on to the next driving point until we get to the end of the book.
Yeah, they're just hanging out in there, sharing their whole life story, and then 5 minutes later,
they come crawling out. They pull Ron out. And then turn around. Which I was sad. That's another thing I really liked about the movie was when Severus comes back out, lift his body out to take him out. And in the movie, he like protects the kids. Again, I think is another driving force of why Severus becomes a fan favorite. Yeah. But in this one, he's just useless. He's just knocked out.
Yeah, like he's definitely nicer in the movies. Or I wouldn't even say nice. Not nicer, but like more
tolerable.
Yeah, more tolerable. Like in the book, like you actually hate him.
Yeah. Shrieking Shack scene. Let's get into it. I hated it. It was too much information all at once. And they generally were like just chilling there. Peter didn't even try to like leave until they were like, oh, let's try to turn him back into a person. Then like they all come down, like Lupin comes down, Severus comes down. And it's just a lot of emotion that just get built and then just crumbles right in front of you as Harry's just like, okay, tell me your story.
It was like a pause in the plot. Like a lot was happening, then they just stopped for a second. They're like, okay, let's talk.
Yeah, like literally talk. I think it takes place over like 3 chapters of them just talking. And like, I get it. Thing is that they need to talk about it. It goes into detail about how none of it's actually true and Peter did everything and all this kind of stuff. But I think the way that it was laid out, it was not enough to support the end of the book. Because that part where it takes place is supposed to be like the climax of the story, where everything comes crashing down. Maybe there should have been a fight between Sirius and Harry is so driven on trying to kill him. There was a second where Harry's like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Imperio myself to kill him. Like, I'm just gonna do it. I forgot what it's called. Avada Kedavra, yeah. And I really wish we had a more of a driving force where Sirius and Harry fight a little bit more. And I hate how public it was, too.
Yeah. That's one thing that I liked more in the movie was how fast-paced and I felt like there's more emotion in it. Harry he felt a lot more angry in the movie, whereas like in the book he seemed calmer and just wanted to know things rather than go after him. Because
in the book it's very like, okay, everybody pull up a chair, get a cup of tea, let's sit down, let's talk about it.
They were talking for a while.
Because they went in like before sundown and it come out to almost midnight. So it's hours they're in there. Or in the movie, they're literally yelling at each other while trying to also get Peter at the same time. Yeah, like how you said, I think it was more fast-paced.
Yeah. And
again, I think the movie did it better of getting the information that they needed right then and there to tell the story without going to hyper detail about everything. I did like that we found out that Sirius gave Hagrid his motorcycle. And that's what he took. I didn't know that. So I learned something too. Wow. I don't think you ever read this book.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So that was kind of like a cool little detail, I guess, but I didn't need to know it. I don't think it was important in any way. Can you talk about how the twins had the map for years and saw the name Peter Pettigrew in Ron's vicinity all the time and in his bed for years and didn't say anything?
You know, this is something that I've seen. Ron was just laying next to a man every night.
Yeah. 2 years. Well, 3 years.
Because you know those twins were using that map all the time.
All the time.
It just makes you wonder
what else they saw.
Yeah.
They were probably like, my brother's gay, and I accept that.
Yeah. They didn't want to talk about it. They were just okay with it. Definitely plot hole.
For sure. There's a lot of plot holes.
Yeah.
One of them being, how coincidental that Peter becomes the rat of the family that's best friends with Harry Potter.
It's quite ironic.
It's quite ironic.
Oh. Yeah.
Why did no one talk about the fact that Peter was on before? With him being in the bed. I'm sure that they had the map out in front of the rat before and was like, oh, well, his name's Scabbers, but it says Peter Pettigrew in here. Peter Pettigrew has to be a common name. Like, people know who that is.
Yeah. Because
he died. Well, they only found his finger, whatever it was.
Yeah, like he was believed to have been dead.
Yeah, so why was no one talking about that aspect? Especially because they're going to be talking about it in front of everybody. Everyone knows everything around here.
Yeah, because didn't they get it from Filch? Or steal it from?
First year.
So who had the map before Filch?
Probably Dumbledore. He has everything.
No one else opened it and
Peter probably didn't get there until... No, because...
Last couple of years.
Yeah, but didn't one of his brothers had, well, the rat... Before?
Percy,
yeah.
Percy did.
I don't know.
That almost makes it worse. That he was just hopping from
boy to boy.
Yeah.
Ew.
He was just hanging out.
That's disgusting. Ew. The more you think about it, the worse it gets.
See, I'm just wondering, like, while he's in his rat state, is he completely aware of everything happening?
I mean, yeah. Like, Sirius, when in the 4th movie or 5th movie, when he's walking around the train station. He knows exactly where Harry is, and he manually shifts into Sirius.
That's just, it's so weird.
It gets worse the more you think about it.
Yeah, because he's just hanging out in Ron's pocket a lot of the time.
Pants pocket.
Oh.
There's a lot of questions. I told you I had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's, you want to play a game?
Yeah, let's play a game.
Let's move away from that. So, Harry Potter is known for its spells. And I have a list of spells here, and you're just going to try to guess what they are, because you're so good at spells.
Thank you.
But you've been practicing, because you've been playing a lot of Hogwarts Legacy.
Yes, it's a
So-
very fun game. I'd strongly recommend.
Yeah. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. A summoning spell.
Accio.
Yep. Turns lights off.
Nox.
Produces a Patronus.
Expecto Patronum.
The stunning spell.
Petrificus Totalis? Or
Oh.
Expelliarmus?
It's Stupefy.
Yes.
Yeah. Petrifies a body.
Petrificus Totalis.
Yeah. Turns legs into jelly.
It's not the leg locking curse.
No. That one, like, does, like, your whole body, I think.
Does it start with an M?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Locomotor Wibbly. I love it. I probably butchered that, but erases memories.
Obliviate.
Lights up your wand.
Lumos.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, you're supposed to say all of these in a British accent.
Lumos.
A shield charm.
Protego.
The killing curse.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah. You got that one wrong.
Avada Kedavra.
Rips things apart.
Defendo.
The torturing spell.
Crucio.
Sets things on fire.
Incendio.
Yay! I can't believe you didn't get the jelly one. The leg jelly one.
You know,
That was the easiest one.
that one you would just use every day, so one day I'll know it.
Okay. So, is there anything that you would have done differently, would have changed? Just your own personal opinion if you were kind of writing this book?
I would have had Dumbledore more involved in the story, because I feel like the only time he really pops in is during Buckbeak and then the Time Turner. Like, he's not really involved in the story that much. I felt like McGonagall was really in the story this time.
Yeah.
But I feel like Dumbledore always gives, like, random advice, and he does that in this book, but he's just not really in the story.
Yeah. Maybe she was doing that because she wanted him to find maybe family in a different perspective. Because he is his mentor, he wanted him to kind of attach to Lupin a little bit more. But yeah, no, you definitely notice his presence not being there in this one. Couldn't even be like, oh, you know, I waved at Dumbledore down the hallway or something.
Yeah, he's not involved at all until the end.
Yeah.
Dumbledore, a lot of depth to his character that you don't really explore in the Harry Potter books.
Yeah. The fact that he's gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, you don't even know that he has siblings until the last book. That would have added more personality, I guess, to him. And they waited till the end.
Yeah, I mean, Harry's kind of selfish in the sense that he only really cares about himself. We don't know anything about Hermione.
Yeah,
besides that she has Muggle families.
You're right.
Or parents. And I feel like Ron's just because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
There's no reason why he knows, but Harry's kind of selfish.
Yeah. The only reason why we know about Ron's family is because Harry stays with them. He never asks about them and what they're up to.
Yeah.
I would have made Snape less annoying, and he was a little crazy, yelled way too much, and I would have toned it down a little bit.
He was on one this book.
Lupin being at the school really triggered back some old school memories and took it out on Hermione.
If you want to think about, like, he's in the same halls that he was then, maybe he felt a little undermined because he didn't support Lupin being there. But yeah, he was way too hard on the kids, like way too hard.
What would you change?
Oh, thank you for asking. I said I would love some friends from the other houses. That would be kind of nice. I don't see why we can't have a Slytherin friend. Sebastian Sallow is the best thing that's ever happened to Hogwarts Legacy, so yeah. I don't want that excuse.
I agree. There's not one Slytherin that is good in this series, I feel like. At least not at this point.
Because the only one they talk about is, like, the main three, Draco and his minions.
Yeah.
We definitely needed friends from other places. I hate that he's only with the people from Gryffindor. Yeah. He's only with them. I think it would have expanded the story out better and would have built a better system for people that are reading this book, the readers, to latch on to other characters, because they are all very generic and all about the same. But we won't get too into the characters, because everyone knows J.K. Rowling is bad and not good with characters.
Yeah.
That I wish there was more importance on Black and more emphasis on him, especially after he has the break-in and then we don't hear about him again until the end of the school year. He kind of falls out of importance, and I'm like, oh yeah, he is out, isn't he? He is missing. We need to find him.
Where he literally breaks into their common room and
Yeah.
they spend one night, and then they're like, okay, we're good now.
You guys can go back. It's fine. Because he would show up on the map, right? Like, everyone shows up on the map.
Yeah.
Even though he made it.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they use the map to find Sirius?
That's a good point.
Because Lupin knows about the map.
He had to have known that the Weasleys had it.
So why didn't he's like, oh, my friend's missing. I should probably see if he's in the map.
Yeah. Or the twins being like, hey, my brother's best friend is having a murderer after them. Let's keep a lookout.
Yeah. Like, I know Hermione does make a mention, like, we should turn that map in because there's a killer on the loose. And they're like, no, it's fine. It's fine. We got it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of plot hole.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Shout out to Buckbeak.
Buckbeak! Yeah.
Beautiful but dangerous.
Was he? I mean, it's Draco's fault.
That is true. He was warned.
Yeah, every other time that they talk about Buckbeak, he was very docile and, like, chill. He's only has that one bad reputation. I did like, now that you're mentioning it, I did like that in the book, Hermione and, like, kind of Ron help Hagrid try to save him.
Yeah.
And she does all that research while also doing all of her schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't mention that in the movie. So I did like that. That was a nice detail. Why couldn't he just let him go? And then they just didn't care after he got let go anyways?
Yeah. It's like, as long as Hagrid doesn't let him go.
Yeah, why did it matter? Why couldn't they just take him and release him somewhere else? There's dragons in this world.
Yeah.
Who cares what a little hippogriff is going to do?
Yeah.
So we're drawing to a close here. But before we go, we do one last thing. We are going to do the rating scale, but we do it a little bit different here on the Book Stop. We make up our own thing. So I would rate Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban 7 conversations overheard to drive the plot out of 10. Yeah, I really like this one. It's my absolute favorite Harry Potter movie, and I think the book definitely supports it in a lot of ways, but there was a lot of questions I had, and a lot of things I think that weren't thought out. But I'm here for Hermione's evil heir, and I'm glad that she gets a little bit of a turning point with her growth. But it was just too much information. Too much information dumps all thrown in there.
You know, I'm gonna have to give this book 8 crusty Dementor fingers out of 10.
Ew!
I thought the book was solid. I think it had good background and brought in some good characters that really connected with the main story, and these characters end up being a big part of the story in the future, and I just liked how it set them all up. It was my favorite book so far in the series, and then 4th book is actually my favorite of the whole series.
Then why didn't we read that one?
Maybe we will.
Oh, because it was too big, and
it was
this
more
one was
than
very
25 pages. It was past my limit.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the Book Stop. Everyone give Nick a round of applause for being able to read a book.
Thank you.
I was shocked. I did tell him to read this book a year ago, so he had a year to finish it, and he still finished it today.
I did. Well, thank you for having me. It was a grand time.
Yeah, this is the one and only episode Nick is going to be on because he's not going to read another book.
We'll see.
We'll see. Well, if you guys want to see him on again, like and interact with this episode, share it, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, friends.
Thank you for turning the pages with us today. If you've enjoyed this episode, show your support by leaving a review, sharing the episode, and following the podcast on Instagram at The Bookstop Podcast. Join us on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Hope you are too.